Okay, you've heard real estate syndications are a great investment, and everybody wants to know really what are the earnings like? How are the deals structured to benefit me? Hey there, I'm Greg Butcher with BluSky Equity Partners, and today I'm excited to talk with you about how real estate syndications are structured. Do you dabble in real estate already? Do you have other investments under your belt? While no two deals are exactly the same, there are a couple of commonly seen deal structures to be aware of. One structure uses a straight split, and the other uses a preferred return. The easiest structure to understand is commonly called a straight split. There's nothing fancy about it, it's just a straight split across the board. So, for example, pretend there's an 80-20 split across the board. All of the cash flow distributions are going to be split 80% to the limited partners, also called passive investors, and 20% to the sponsors or general partners, no matter whether the returns are beating the initial projections or are below them. The same split stands for the profits at sale. After investors' original investments are paid back, 80% of the profits go to the passive investors and 20% go to the general partners. It's very straightforward. Now we'll go over the preferred return model. For example, let's say a deal offers an 8% preferred return, also called the pref, followed by a 70-30 split. This means the cash flow goes 100% completely to the limited partner passive investors until an 8% annualized return is achieved. The general partners don't get any of that first 8%. That's why it's called preferred. Then any returns above that are shared, with 70% of them going to the passive investors and 30% of them going to the general partners. If the sponsors can't meet the designated preferred return level in a particular year, the unpaid portion accrues, and the sponsors have to pay that out before they get to share in the returns. For example, if the pref is 8%, but we can only pay out 7% during a year, then in the next year, before the general partners can earn anything, they have to pay the limited partners that year's 8% pref plus the 1% that accrued from the previous year. This type of structure entices the general partners to work extra hard to ensure the deal will attain earnings above and beyond that 8% preferred return. There's never a guarantee that you're going to get 8%, but that's about as close to a guarantee as you can get. Even if the project's cash flow isn't expected to meet 8% during the life of the investment, the sponsors might offer an 8% preferred return. Now, this just means that whatever accrued preferred return hasn't been paid yet by the time the property sells will be paid out to the passive investors from the sale proceeds before the 70-30 split kicks in that the sponsors get to share in. Again, this is about as close to a guarantee as you can get in an equity investment. Next is the preferred return combined with a waterfall structure. This aligns the interests of the general partners and limited partners even further. The waterfall structure uses multiple tiers with different splits. The higher the deal's returns are, the larger the share the general partners receive. To help explain, let's use a similar example of an 8% pref, and that's the first tier, and it all goes to the passive investors. The next tier is a 70-30 split up until a 14% internal rate of return, or IRR, is achieved. This means the returns above 8% but below 14% are split, with 70% to the passive investors and 30% to the sponsors. Then if the returns exceed a 14% IRR, the next tier kicks in, and that might be a 50-50 split, for example. So any portion of the returns exceeding 14%, the passive investors would get 50% and the general partners would get 50%. Generally speaking, we can only get to this higher tier where the property is sold. What this does is it really incentivizes the general partners to work extra hard to make sure the property performs well and that everyone's getting really good returns. Because the higher the overall returns are, the more they earn themselves. Seems great, right? Now, I want to point out a couple of things. First is that these numbers, like an 8% preferred return, are just examples, even though they are common examples. You always need to understand how each specific deal that you're looking at is structured, because they can differ from each other. Second, is that across each of these deal structures that we discussed, and pretty much any structure that you'll see with a real estate syndication, the majority of the returns are not going to the sponsors, but to the passive investors. It's highly common to see a 70-30 split, if not an 80-20 split, and sometimes even higher than that. Then that portion that goes to the passive investors is shared pro rata based on the amount they invested out of the total equity. As a passive investor, I'm getting my share out of 70% or 80% or so of those returns just for investing my money and really doing nothing else. I'm just sitting back and enjoying the ride. I don't have to do anything, and I get to share in 80% of the returns. Now, personally, I love that because it allows me to really diversify my portfolio and get into a variety of different markets and different asset classes without a lot of work. Think I'd earn that much investing in a real estate investment trust or REIT? Heck no. Isn't it eye opening to discover how real estate syndications are structured in favor of the passive investors? Comment below and tell me what you think. For an even deeper look into actual deals, find the link in the description below and join the BluSky Investor Club today. All right, it's time for me to sign off. But before I do, make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you like this video or know anyone that could benefit from a real estate syndication, hit the like button and share this video with them. I'm Greg with BluSky Equity Partners. Thanks so much for watching.